You were in public. Funny. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go over some examples. We'll start with gold here. Let's start off with just general, bias and stuff. So coming into the week, I was actually looking for this high, right? Once we close over this low, I was actually looking for this to support price lower to possibly this low. But what we see is Monday open low first, right? That's cool. We can expect that because we have a swing point. So you could have been bearish Monday. But what we do is that if we look at intraday, it's a very clean buy, open, low, high, close, right? And then essentially we have a candle 3 closure on Tuesday. So we have Monday going low, creating a swing point in the daily time frame. We are sweeping out these lows to the left as well. Keep that in mind. Like I said, we're closing over the body of this candle, so it validates it as a valid candle 3 closure to expect a candle 4, right? Expansion to this high. There really is no key level that we're creating to swing off of. That's the only thing that was like kind of bothering me. But essentially, with the weekly profile, the way it formed, it would open up first. We can expect that to go higher, right? And then both of these profiles, they all support bullishness right here, back to back. And then this here, first off, let's go over these actually. I don't want to go too far ahead here. So let's think about the 7-hour time frame, right? So what we have here is we have 1800 creating SMT, right? And then oh God, that voice graph is crazy. We have yeah, 1 a.m. 7-hour candle, like expanding away. So if you want to trade a 7-hour candle, you're gonna look internally to here. Is there any framework to basically trade away from? When you think about a daily expansion candle, right? We're framing, we want to see an open low first. That's what we get, right? So that kind of validates this idea. And you have like the previous day's high. So we have Monday's high. And this kind of adds a narrative to go back to the current weekly high at this point. You're gonna ask yourself, like, is this really gonna be the weekly high? This Asia high as of Monday, you know? So we can trade back to that, especially with this SMT and the way this candle's forming, right? Open low for this little sweep right here. We have our chain of state delivery here. And remember, we're using this chain of state delivery, not this, because the other asset created a lower low. So this candle here is the candle that created the manipulation. So this is the one we're really focused on. So in this case, you could look for a fractal model here, right? Because what do we have? A swing point, right? And then we have London open. So if the reversal happened prior to London open, what should London do? Expand, right? If you look, I don't even know if there is a trade, but this could be valid. So London opens about right. Let me just delete this stuff for you guys. Let's just bar replay it real quick. London opens right here. Okay, so you have that swing point, right? Now look inside of, just do we have a reversal yet, right? On the lower time frame? Yes, we do. So now it's just about confirming this open low high close, right? We're trading away from manipulation. We have Asia session highs we could target, and obviously the previous high, these highs, stuff like that. Right. So this is more of my approach where I like to trade away from an hourly manipulation. And remember, we're opening low first, so that's ideal, right? So all we need to see is this intra-candle chain stick delivery, ideally. Don't get it there. Okay, you get it right there. So you can trade this into whatever you want, right? Put your stop loss low here. One one to two is like $600, about right there. So you could have traded there, right? That's valid, totally valid for a fractal model. But what about a, expansion candle logic, or sorry, a expansion. What's it damn? What's his thing called? Expansion model? Yeah, that's what it is. What about expansion model logic? So let's check out the 8 a.m. 7-hour open. What do we have here in the lower time frames? Kind of just opening up between, or it's inside of a range, right? So when you think about continuation signature, you need it to have a low of the day to trade away from. We already have that. Now it's just about finding, you know, opposing candles on maybe the 30-minute or the 15-minute time frame here. We have news this day, so you want to wait for that? Or no, we don't actually. Or do we? This looks a lot like news. Maybe it's not. My bad. But we do create another SMT here, by the way. So you check this out. So you see this? Where is it? Oh yeah, it's right here. Right. So we trade into that hourly opposing candle. You see, we create a lower low here, creating a higher high over here. So that's an, a valid trader. We think about the 8 a.m. candle. It went open. It opened right here. It went lower. So like here, I'm not really gonna trust this opposing candle necessarily. It's very choppy, right? When I look at the way this opposing candle form, look at all these little stacked lows on a lower time frame. That's just low resistance liquidity. I'm not really trusting that ever. So I'm really wanting to see this get swept here, right? And you see how the difference, the way this opposing candle formed here rather than this one. So that's just um, a nice filter you want to see, right? Because we want to see like manipulation creating opposing candles that we see here, right? Expansion, immediate expansion, um, basically validating that opposing candle, right? So now we have a possible low of 8 a.m. for a continuation because we haven't yet expanded on the daily time frame. So this is a really good trade, right? So you can enter off of the opening price or off of just that, right? You can enter like right here to get higher. And you have some possible continuation as well. If you want to trade that. Not as clean, but yeah, you can take it to there, right? Does that make sense? You can use a 30-minute CSD as well. A little bit cleaner here. There's just a nice swing point here. It's like an ideal swing formation. So there's a couple entries there, in my opinion, that were clean, as well as that fractal model down here. Does that make sense to everyone so far? I'm looking at the chat right now. Goes above the body, set body a certain way. That's yeah, T also agrees with that. He also looks for that. He doesn't want to see this. Like you never want to see this, bro. So let's say, we're bearish and then, we have like a bunch of highs here and we validate this. To me, this is like a low resistance. Yeah, we validate this as an opposing candle, but really I'm still trading away from low resistance, which I don't want to do. I want to trade away from something like this, you know, some sort of lower time frame manipulation. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to trade away from like low resistance. Kind of makes sense. So that was that example. Now we're gonna go on like the next couple of days. So just with this close, like I said, we went open low first, right? So really we're just in a range right from here to here. So now, you could expect an expansion higher just with this close, right? With this valid candle 3 closure. So we're looking for a candle. This is not an order block, by the way, but we're just looking for that open low high close, ideally, right? So when you look at this profile, and we're going to use the 7-hour logic here. We have that small opposing run. We have 1800 running out a low. Right? 1800 running out a low. But continuation inside of the 1 a.m. candle. And now you're just opening right here, right? And what we do is you open low first, create an SMT for continuation here. And here's what that looks like, right? And again, trading away from some sort of manipulation. You have this manipulation with an SMT, so that's always ideal, right? Not sure if we had news this day, by the way. Don't think so, but yeah, no news, just checking. You have a swing point, ideal swing formation, and you could trade that higher. Does that make sense? This is really the only area to get in is after this manipulation, trade higher. At that point, you want to get around here, around the opening price of that 7-hour candle, because you don't want to really want to enter in the premium end of that daily candle or 7-hour candle. Yeah, this is that open low, right? Trading that expansion away. Pretty clean. So there's that day. And I want to show you Friday. I thought Friday was very clean. The overall narrative. So back this up here. So we have the Monday low of the week here. Right. So we already have expanded into objectives for the week. But what makes this really obvious to me is when I go to the correlated asset and what has that done? Because that's important. So we have 2 days of expansion. Same thing, Monday low of the week. We have 2 days of expansion, and the previous day's range is absolutely like huge, right? And it also trades into this objective and creates SMT, right? So I'm definitely not looking for continuation on the stronger asset. So if this asset I'm looking to trade back to the range, then obviously the weaker asset being gold, I'm definitely looking to trade back into the range, right? And what we see here is always something you want to see, right? Whenever you have the asset that sweeps out, if we ever create a lower low after that, right? So you have a stronger asset sweeping with SMT, then you create a lower low. This is the ideal scenario, right? Because that shows the willingness to trade away from this manipulation right here. Does that make sense? And that's what we have here. You see this SMT, bearish SMT. When I go to gold, we create that higher high, right? Does that make sense? So it's that same model, right? Where the previous day hits a high. I'm looking to trade that next day back into the range, right? So this is like you can think of it as almost like external back to internal, back into the weekly range. So now we're going to see how this candle forms because if you ever want to trade a reversal day, it needs to form like this. It has to go open high first and then low close. This has to happen. If it goes open low first and then high, sweeps a high, that's an invalidation, right? Because if you want to trade a bearish candle, you need it to go open high first, right? That's what it does here. You're gonna see. So like I said, we go open high first with this SMT, and then validate that with an opposing candle. A series of opposing candles. There's Asia high today, London and New York continuation essentially. And we can trade New York session here because of two things. When you open up about 8 a.m., when I look at the candle here, do I see, the daily expand yet? No, right? We do see a reversal. So this is when we can expect a New York continuation to basically create the majority of the daily range. This is always ideal, is when the previous two sessions do not expand if you're a New York trader. But the previous two sessions do reverse, but they don't expand. That's always ideal because we want to catch the expansion, right? So there's a couple of opportunities here. First one is, if I remember here, there's like there's definitely some fractal model stuff here, and as well as ADM open, right? So if I go here, we're gonna use that same logic of this 7-hour candle. We're forming a swing point, 1800 creates the high, 1 a.m. trades away from that. Like I said, we're looking for a continuation just back in this range, right? We have that small opposing ground on the daily candle supporting expansion back in the range as well. So we can expect a continuation, right? And here you could frame a fractal model short, right? Prior to that opening price. If you want to use 4-hour candle, this is how I do it. I'm gonna teach you guys like later, but same thing, right? I'm framing an open high, low close. So I'm trading a 4-hour like basic expansion candle within a lower time frame model. So this is an hourly model, right? But that 4-hour expansion candle is supporting my idea. But here, if you're like a foundation model trader, You could view this as an opposing candle. I'm not gonna view this as an opposing candle because it didn't create a new high. If it did it, if it created a new high here, something like that, or like this, then it would be valid, right? But it didn't do that. It's just a failure swing. We have to use this series essentially if you're going to use the 15-minute time frame, and you get your continuation right here, right? So that's a valid entry right there. But I want to take you to the hourly candle here, the fractal model. So you can basically um, you can use the 7-hour time frame as your kind of like framework, and the fractal model as your entry, right? So what do we have here? We have a swing point on the 1-hour time frame. So you have 8 a.m. open right here. So the candle for the hourly fractal model is the opening price of the 7-hour candle. I'm just going to do this. And we're already expecting bearishness, right? So what you could do is you could wait for an intra-candle CSD. The intra-candle CSD is like one of the best confirmations in my opinion. Or just, I just love it. It's so good. One of the best concepts in this course, in my opinion. So what we have here, we're always going to have an invalidation rate where we have 8 a.m. opening here. What are we opening, near at these opposing candles, right? So ideally, this is where the high forms. We can already anticipate this, right, with the fractal model. And then we open up, right, open high first, and then intracandle CSD right here. So essentially trading the fractal model, but also that 7-hour logic, right? So it would look something like this. You can enter here or the retest, up to you, right? You could trade that to whatever, you know. Maybe we have a deviation you could do here. Really, I would have to use this. I don't think it's very useful. Yeah, it's not useful to be honest. You can just take this, just go 2R. It already hit 2R there. If you're looking for beyond that, then cool. Whatever you're looking for, right? But this is the ideal entry. It's right there. Hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense, guys? So this is gold. That's it for gold. Um, okay, so being quoted. Yes, it is being quoted. Is the invalidation on gold set up the hourly bullish CSD? So daily candle would go open low first. For wait, is the invalidation on gold set up an hourly bullish CSD? Where was that? Like for this day? There's a bear CSD where it goes open high first and then a bear CSD. The hourly. Okay, G, I have a problem with that. Makes me pass on a lot of trades. So a CSD happens in candle 2, then the CSD OB fair value gets tapped in a candle 2 and gets close through. Then in candle 3, you have a shallow run and immediately take off. I pass on these, and majority of the time, it's the move. The problem is in candle 3, you're too far off the low. With offering the closing candles. Is it okay to take the trade before candle 2 closes? So that's what I do personally, but I'm not there yet to teach all that because I trade within candle 2s, but like I said, it has to form a certain way. The way that this daily candle 2 forms is how you would want it to trade. So if I just show you an example here, here's one thing you could do though, is on a candle 3 open or something. Let's say there's already let's just use this example actually, right? So if you're like worried about maybe, you know, not creating an opposing candle and missing the entry or something, this is something you could do, okay? It's just looking between this range. Is there an invalidation, you know, in the upper half of this candle? And you could just put your entry on that and anticipating that the high of candle 4 or candle 3 is going to form, right, within that invalidation. So if you look here, it's just like a 15-minute opposing candle, or a 5-minute. So you could just enter there. So I know what you're saying, like, What if it just did this essentially? Like, what if it basically just opened up here, did this, and just traded away like that? Is that what you're saying, pretty much? Yeah. Okay. I know what you mean. Yeah, that's just like if it's valid and stuff, if the framework is super valid, then yeah, you can just market execute on candle 3 and put your stop loss at the invalidation point. You can do that. Just understand that there is a give and take with doing that. Um, it's just less probable, right? If you let the reversal form, it's just more high probable. But you can do that. So you get something to back test, you know. But yeah, another thing you could do is you could just wait for uh, a candle 2 closure. So like, let's say, let me try to make this. I'm gonna have to like find an example or something. Let's go here. All right. So what I mean by that, it's not the best example. This is technically a reversal right here, but what I'm basically saying, let's say that the reversal is like right here. Okay. Let's say the reversal is right here. And then we open up this candle here, right? Or some, whatever, right? And we form a candle 2 closure. So instead of just market executing on this, like this, you could just wait for a candle 2 closure on the lower time frame and just enter off that with your stop loss either below there or at the invalidation point. There's just like a many ways you can do it. It's all personal preference, but yeah, there's like a bunch of ways you can do it. But I'm gonna show you some examples on here. Maybe that'll come back up. And there's gonna be better examples than yours. I just don't want to get too caught up here. But let's go over CL now. It's just another. We'll get to this one quick because it's just a 7-hour model here. So if you go on the daily, we finally broke out of this consolidation here, and we have the previous day, very pretty large range, right? And we have a closure above this high. So when you think about a manipulation, it doesn't really strike as a manipulation, right? Because we have a very basically open up here. If it's going to be a manipulation, first off, we'd have a weak close. And since we're opening so close to it, the fact that we just, you know, right here we hit it and then we just kept trading on throughout the day doesn't really strike as a manipulation. It would be a lot different and maybe if the opening price was way down here and then we hit it there, maybe I could frame a reversal because it'd be more of a shallow sweep, but not in this case. And with the way this candle forms, it validates bullishness. I'm going to show you here. So just like the previous day, where we open low first, again, open low first, ideal scenario for a bullish day, right? So when we look at this 7-hour candle, we have is just we're just consolidating, right? Between one candle. But what we do is have a very nice closure at 1 a.m. So we have consolidation in 1800, 1 a.m. C2 closure, sweeping these lows into this fair value gap. So you can already anticipate expansion here because we already have alignment on the 30-minute, right? We have that sweep as well, which we like to see. So this is when so just like that example that I was just showing, it's like we expect this candle, this 8 a.m. candle to basically form its low right here in this candle basically. I go on like the 15-minute time frame. It's a pretty nice swing low, right? The propulsion block. So we already can anticipate that. So you have two options. You can either market execute on the opening price of either the CSD or just the opening price of 8 a.m. in general, like this, and put your stop loss right here in anticipation of that forming. Or your other option is waiting for basically that low to be confirmed, right? Which would have to be on a lower time frame at this point. You see this opposing candle? So we open low first, make an opposing candle. That confirms the 8 a.m. low, right? So you have two options there. It's a give and take. But sometimes it might not form that opposing candle. We might just run. You know, you have to test that for yourself. But yeah, and then we expand, right? This low is formed in around London session hours. That previous day's high is your target. There you go. Simple as that. Very clean. Um, yeah, does that make sense, everyone? 7 hour logic there. Second question that we got from- Okay, I'll get to that. Whenever your trade breakdowns on your Twitter, regardless of time frame alignments, you always talk about this. Yes, I'm going to go over that in a future stream because much like the 7 hour candle, um, you can do it the 4 hour candle too. So if you know my model, this is a 4 hour candle reversal. So I'm using this low here. If you see my first stream, you would understand this here. Basically, this candle is an expansion candle that hits this low. But really, I'm just thinking about the low of the day forming and then basically aligning myself with expansion candles on the 4 hour time frame. So if I go here, 4 hour candle. If I go here on the 15-minute time frame, this is like an intracandle chain of state delivery. You can think of it like, so I'm basically trading a candle to closure, not, or I'm trading before it closes, right? I'm trading the candle to expansion. And the only way I can trade this here is, like I said, if the previous candle is like in a point of reversal, right? So here we're just trading lower, right? And then we have a manipulation. So it's like really this is the only area for the low data form. It meets all the criteria. So now I'm within the daily wick, right? At this point, because the daily open is about here. At that point, I'm within the daily wick, and now I'm aligned within a 4 hour expansion candle, right? So you see I'm aligning expansion, if that makes sense. So you have this here. This is your intracandle change state delivery. You can just enter this if you want, right? I'm not awake at these times. This is totally valid, right? This candle go open low, and then creates its, you know, this confirms the wick, right? We have that intracandle state change state delivery. And then you get a propulsion block. And then within this expansion candle, you're going to have 1 hour expansion candles. You see these 1 hour expansion candles, which also create open low high closes. But that may be like a little advanced and stuff, but it's all about aligning expansion candles. That's all the fractal model is, if you really think about it. So see here, the low was created, right? And that basically in that session, we don't want to see price go much lower. So when we get that first manipulation, like this is the ideal, you know, area for it to be created, right? We even get that 30-minute close. We want extra confirmation within that 4 hour expansion candle, which is like a confirmation. It's like added influence when it's actually supported by an expansion candle, you know? But we'll go over that later. But hopefully this 7 hour example made sense. We went over a couple 7 hour examples there. Now let's go over EURUSD. Very clean, very, very clean here. We have Monday. So let's go over like just this in general. We have bearish order flow, right? We reverse off this high. We're basically trading within a range of high to low. We run out the range low. We're trying to displace lower. Obviously, a bearish order flow, so we want to target the range low, right? And then internally to this higher time frame range, of a range low from here, it's just an equal low of the other swing, and then a range high. We're consolidating between that. So we know that price can't reverse consolidation. So when it purges the high, we want to revert to this low. So what are we doing here? We're basically trading a expansion candle, the weekly expansion candle, aligning that with a model. That's all we're ever doing is aligning a manipulation or just an internal range, external range within an expansion candle. So that's what you see here, right? Open high, low close, right? Because we want to trade away from these manipulations and stuff. And we need that expansion candle to basically support that idea. If you look at this manipulation here, what is it supported by? An expansion candle, right? Open high, low close. Anyways, We have the weekly candle going open high, like I said, and then we have this closure, a nice candle to closure. So I'm expecting the next 2 days to expand lower. So what is a confirmation to that? Just a daily profile, right? We'd ideally want to see open high first, creating the high of that day to then expand lower. So it's just about what time these highs get created in. So if we go here, looks like I deleted some stuff. That sucks. But or maybe I didn't. Hold on. Okay, I did. I'm gonna show you a couple of examples here. First off, what does the day do, right? We have the previous day, we have that CSD, right? And I really like how this PA is forming, right? The expansion. And then it just looks like retracement, right? Very slow, lethargic, just generating sell side liquidity. And then what do we want to see at the high of the day? Right? Manipulation. So we run at a high. This is where you can start to look for the fractal model. You can already anticipate this forming because on the opposing side of this manipulation, what do we have? Just failure swings, right? That's always great to see. We want to use 7-hour logic. It's going to be within, it's a 7 a.m. open. So that's like perfect kill zone hour, right? You have, this opposing candle. You have, like I said, the London session reversing price, candle to closure. And then just look at the lows. Look at these failure swings. Right? That's added narrative to go lower, right? So when we open up, 8 a.m., where's 8 a.m. at? Or 7 a.m., sorry. So 7 a.m., we have our 30-minute closure below. And you also have this propulsion block at exactly 7 a.m. is when we validate that. So there's your, expansion model trade right there. What about fractal model? So here, I don't really see much here, but here for distribution away from the high of the day, you have some 30-minute examples, which I'll go over real quick. So let me just go back on. This is our initial draw. Right, and this is a 30-minute closer, by the way. It hits a key level, right? This fair value gap. And then we sweep out this high in candle 2, have that chain of state delivery, right? And so you have multiple options here. You can enter on the closure way down here. You can enter on this C2 like this, anticipating this to form. So this would you'd get better RR. This, right? Before it's basically a swing point, right? You get into that because it's within this key level, right? Or you could wait for the retest, right? So many things you could do. You have this as well. So this is this trade. Eventually get to this low down here. Right, so pretty good trade there. And now we're coming back here. So look at this fair value gap. Wait for this closure. Right. We validate that. So that's another valid entry, right? Because we have an intra-candle stated delivery confirming this candle to high, right? So that's another possible trade, right? And then you have this continuation. So you can enter on the closure, the retest, or right here, right? You have the continuation lower, right? You have an ideal swing formation here. So multiple entries on the 30-minute, 3-minute here for that distribution away from London high today. At this point, this is a full-on top-down. You should really study this PA. It's very clean. If you're an expansion model trader, refractive model trader, doesn't matter. The framework here is what makes this actually really clean. And actually, that's why it works because of the framework, right? So we'll go on to the next day here. So the next day is like the same thing. We haven't reached our draw yet, right? So ideally, what we're looking for is an expansion, another expansion, right? What we have here is expansion, consolidation, right? What are we doing? Open high first, just like the previous day, we open high first. That's always ideal. But here we don't have a manipulation, really. right? I'm not really going to consider this a manipulation. For one, never got validated, right? But here, it's more just like lackluster. So I would want this high to get taken away, right? Because we're not really showing the willingness to trade with this high. I'm not viewing it as a manipulation. Here, we form an SMT, right? So that is manipulation in London session. So if you're a fractal model trader or an expansion model, I don't think the 7 hour applies here. It might. Yeah, so like it kind of does, right? 7 hour hits this fair value gap, right? You anticipate this going lower. Because what we have here, you have to view it like this, by the way. You have to view it as this um, you know, London expansion here is sweeping out this high because it's SMT. It's SMT, right? The other assets swept, so we are creating that protected high within this London session 7 hour candle. So this is absolutely tradable, right? Or the 30-minute. See how we open up here. I think it's at this point here. We open here, we open high, create the wick. We have that manipulation with the SMT, and we validate this as a opposing candle, so you can enter off that, or you can enter off here. So what do we have here, by the way? A fractal model, right? We have an opposing candle, a 30-minute closure right here. You see that? So this is valid. Go look on the lower time frame what we have here. So do we have the reversal within this candle too? No, not yet. We need to close over this to create an intracandle chain state. Right, so we do there, and you can just enter that, right? And we're trading to this low, right? So I'll bar replay it, y'all. You have like multiple options here. You can technically put your stop loss here, right? Because when I look, if I just measure out the 0.5 of this wick, this swing point, it's formed. It's not really formed within a key level. You could say this inversion, but I'm not really wanting this high to get swept out, ideally, right? Um, it's also within the upper half of these opposing candles. It's actually above that, so you can do that. Or you could put it all the way up here. You can put the bodies. It's all up to you, right? This offers better RR, but obviously you have the higher chance of it getting swept out. It's also an ideal swing formation as well, but it's completely up to you. And then, like I said, we'd be looking for this down here. So what about this continuation of in candle 4? So why could you enter this? So look what we have here. No wick. So it opens low or opens high first with no wick. Now this reversal here is very late in the candle, but you can still enter that technically, right? Yeah, the sweep. Right. You just have to understand that really the next candle is gonna be the one that expands. So you can enter that again, or you could just drag your stop loss to this high, right? Because now this is a protected high, essentially. But that next opening price is gonna really expand away, right? Just because the way this candle formed, right? It took a long time to form its high. Doesn't have enough time to expand, right? So it's gonna wait for that next candle to expand. And you'd be looking for that previous day's low, right? So that's a little logic for you on euro. Now we'll go over some questions. And obviously Friday, we're not looking to trade continuation lower because previous day hit an objective. Monday is the high of the week, and also 3 consecutive expansion days in a row after hitting an objective. Like this is the counter trend or the it's not really it's like a you kind of think of it as like a Thursday counter profile or a TJF, right? Except we're missing a day here, we're missing Wednesday because of New Year's. So really Thursday is the one that hits this low. So it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, but it's the same logic. So y'all can start if y'all have any questions, y'all can ask. Indices next week. But were those like good examples for y'all? Does it make sense for you guys? Indices next week. Yeah, so indices this week were absolutely, like, horrendous, in my opinion. They're horrendous. Like, honestly, this was a really good day framework-wise. Like, we had a clean draw. It's just the way the days formed, I don't think were, like, ideal. There's some days, but they're not, like, A plus in my opinion, nothing like that. Like, we have this day running out, so basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days of expansion into slow. I wanna trade back into that range because there's an SMT here as well, but, you know, Friday was just disgusting. Where, like, I wanna see these lows get ran out to then trade higher, but we never do that. I already explained this as well, like, there is logic to go higher here when the time drivers don't actually come back to the range. When they fail to do that, I mean, there's only one area to target, it's the previous high. Because like, you have the previous low, previous high. Just within the daily time frame, we're already leaning bullish, right? And at this point, on, like, 10 a.m. close, right, we have news at 10 a.m. within this candle. It doesn't do anything, right? We're kinda just respecting order flow, but again, I don't like to trade these lows ideally. But at this point, we're already near these highs, right? We're already near them, and we've already traveled away from the daily open. I'm not expecting an irrelevant time in the day, like 12 o'clock, to reverse this day. So it only makes sense to go higher. It only makes sense to continue, right? If it's gonna go lower, the time drivers would have done that. It would have done it. Ideally, we want to see the time drivers swoop these lows out, or come back to the range. But when they fail to do that, you know, it only makes sense to go higher. But there's nothing like super clean in here. But yeah, I would be just, we're opening up the week like just within a range. So it's like, are we going to continue this? So early week, if we're going to continue this high, like get clean expansion candles, it's going to do it the early week. Like Monday can actually be an expansion candle just because Friday we made a swing point. When you think about a swing point, the fourth candle usually expands, right? So it can do that. If you look at here, we have Friday manipulation. Not really an expansion day on Monday, but we're trading higher away from that. Same thing, same logic here, essentially. So if you look here, it's the same scenario. We run out this high. The Monday opens here. Our drawn liquidity is down here. Do you see how the previous or the first couple days in the week we expand lower? That's how I would view this. Um, since there's no reversal to go lower yet. Like if we're gonna continue off this opposing candle, it needs to form the reversal. So we have to let that play out. But if it's gonna continue, we already have like that. We already have like an invalidation level, and that would be like this opposing candle. So you just have to let the weekly range develop. We form a protected low in this area. Well, I expect Tuesday to expand. But if we do some stuff, something like this, expect Tuesday to expand lower. We're just gonna have to let it develop. But yeah, great example is awesome. Friday no wick 1 hour up candle. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. If I go, yeah, like it's just like this is the low of the day right here. It's like not great. And then we have no wick here, basically. It's just ugly PA. Like I would never trade this. I tried a demo higher to this high, but like I'm not gonna trade that live. I thought gold was really clean. I traded CL personally. I traded CL higher. I thought the commodities were a lot cleaner. But if you guys want to go over like some higher time frame stuff. Is this recorded? Yes. When it comes to failure swings, is manipulation the only signature where we know price will do failure swings? Right. Example, YM manipulated the hourly swing low, but but look at how the distance should be safe until high, right? We get some sort of return. Yeah, like so. This kind of makes sense why it doesn't have to manipulate because when you think about it, just phase of price, what do we have here, essentially, is how I'm looking at this. Say expansion, mouth expansion, consolidation, expansion. But ideally, to trade away from any consolidation, I want to have that manipulation, right? Even though we have daily manipulation, right? We do, but I still want to trade away because I want to narrow down my invalidation, right? This is my invalidation. If we get something like this, I can now narrow down my invalidation at this point, right? And I can expect internal expansion. Does that kind of make sense? And like this opposing candle or whatever would be my new invalidation. I could feel comfortable trading away from that. Does that make sense? Kind of. That's just kind of what I demand. But here, like you do have like a little manipulation, I think here, right? It's all right. Like I think YM and RTY actually did manipulate. See, this is that. I don't know, man. It's not really that clean. Like just yeah, like I want to see this overall low get taken. I don't know if RTY takes it. Technically does, yeah. I think it does. And I think we have this ST here at 9 AM. Okay. Let me have this. Right. I don't really look at indices too much, but there's basically two SMTs here, right? Right. You have this SMT first, and you see how the news event. This is what you want to see. You want the news event to expand away from any manipulation. That's what we kind of see here. I don't think it's that clean though. Yeah, bro. It's if you look at the 4-hour candle, the 6 AM close here. Look at that 6 AM close. It's just hard to really justify this. Really, like it's kind of gross. But once we do close over this, then it's like okay, you know, obviously we're gonna hit previous high. But anything before that, kind of hard. So when you see basically price, that's why I longed on NQ is basically when an SMT broke. But you have this SMT here, right? You have that wick. So once price starts to trade above the point 0.5 of this wick, and then obviously just validate an opposing candle through it, and also take out that high, then you're kind of trading the so-called invalidation for shorts, right? Because you could always say that this is an obvious short narrative here, but you know when that gets invalidated, it's like we're either going to take out the previous day's high or the previous day's low. At this point, like I said, we're closer to the previous high. We have that daily manipulation, so I'm already favoring longs. So you'd have to kind of just go something like this, right? These propulsion blocks and stuff like that. But it's like it's all right. I would rate this like a B or something. It's not A plus. Like you know, ideally 9:30 takes out all these lows, and then 10 AM expands. Like that would be sick. But that's what I was wanting. You ever? Yeah, I do analyze the monthly and weekly. That's how I was gonna go over some of these examples, but I don't know if we're gonna make that today. Got like 10 minutes left. Trying to hit like an hour. You guys want to? We can go over briefly. You guys want that? Okay. So when you think about just daily models, right? We're always trading away from manipulation. So you view that same logic. So basically, how we view the daily time frame is we are trading away. Let me show you on here real quick. Basically, trading away from a key level within a higher time frame expansion candle. So what's the higher time frame to the daily? It's the weekly. So here we had the previous week hitting this key level. When's the expansion actually occur though? It's the next week. Away from that, right? Because at this point, what did this weekly candle do? Open high first. It doesn't support an expansion candle lower away from that. So the opening price here of the new weekly candle is right here. Doesn't mean you can't trade these days, by the way, but we understand that the real expansion is going to occur that next week. Does that make sense? Now, on a low, when we manipulate this low here, the real expansion is going to come the next day, right? Because this candle here went open high first and then hit this low. It's also, a large buzz and run, right? Doesn't support bearish. So what we're doing is aligning expansion candles with a model, right? Models are a couple of things. It's, we could have like say something like this. We sweep a range low. If fair swings at the opposing side like that, you can see this on any time frame, by the way. If I go here, we have it really right here, right? We manipulate this high to trade to all these failure swings, right? So this is a monthly time frame. It happens on every single time frame. We also have, internal range, the external range, right? Where we're going to have a monthly fair value gap, let's say, and we're gonna have a monthly candle closure. And inside of here, you're gonna have like a weekly or a daily manipulation to basically trade away from this monthly fair value gap. And that monthly or that weekly and daily distribution is just going to be one solid candle on the monthly time frame. So let's go over like some examples of that. As well as like internal to external, it's all the same thing, right? So let's go over, you guys know my model. I mean, you can see it work. It's kind of crazy, honestly. Um, and this is trading those candle twos, right? So you have here, why can we trade? Why can we trade this candle two? Because it opens high first, right, into an opposing level, and we have a bunch of failure swings, right? So we can trade this open high, low close. If I go to the weekly time frame, you're probably going to see exactly this, right? The the previous week hit this key level. What is the next candle? We're going to wait for that next candle to open, right? So you see how we're aligning expansion candles? I have the monthly creating the wick, right here. Now I'm waiting for that next week to open, right? So I can trade an expansion candle lower. Does that make sense? Or no? Hopefully that makes sense, right? Here, you have an opposing candle on the weekly time frame, right? I like the daily here. No, let's just keep it here. And then I have this, right? A weekly closure. So I'm expecting the next couple of candles to distribute away because looking on the weekly time frame, you can even see the low resistance, right? You see all these lows? There's no protected low at the opposing side of this range. So that is a continuation signature, right? So we're using phases of price to kind of help us, determine that. In here, you have a bunch of internal weekly models, right? You have this one, you have this manipulation, right? A weekly C2 closure. I can expect this whole week to expand into these failure swings, right? Does that make sense? And the weekly, by the way, the monthly candle like opens like somewhere here. It's within this weekly candle. But um here, right, we form a swing point from a key level. Candle 3 hasn't expanded yet. So this is making expect candle 4 to actually expand. And it should expand, right? We don't even want to see price come and take out this high. Like you don't want to see that. You want to see these swing points, hold it. Like this is a swing point. You want to see that hold it. But does that kind of make sense? And then we are aligning that with the monthly candles. So if you look here, we have right inside of this candle here, we have that weekly swing point. What is it waiting for? The next candle, the monthly candle to open. Because why? The way this candle formed, if we go back, I don't really want to go back because I want to show you guys something on this daily time frame over here. But let me show you the weekly first. Where are we at? Where are we at? Oh, right here. Um, yeah. So when you think about the way this candle formed, right, it went open low first, right, and then this is when the new week opened right here, the new month. Sorry. So at the point of this new month open, we can clearly see reversal is formed just on the higher time frames. Probably have a daily, you know, reversal rate. I don't know where I'm at. Yeah, like right. Where are we at? Right. I think so. Yep, right here. So those are the fair swings you saw. So when you open up the month, the new month is right here. We're actually forming like an intra-candle chain of state delivery, right? That makes sense. Let me do this. Right here. We have a weekly swing point here, right? And then you get a bit choppy, but forex. You get your um obviously what do you call it? Uh, propulsion block, right? And you can have this candle two closure, right? And you can trade this lower, right here. Because if you look at the opposing side of this candle two closure, we have the other swings right here, but also obviously these fair swings. And this is hitting a key level, right? So it's very cool how this all like ties together. Let's go over like another example. I'm gonna show you. I think I have an example somewhere in here. I think it's right here, right? So previous month expands into these highs, right? So it's an expansion candle. So if I want to trade back to the range after expansion, because we can expect a new phase of price, I want to trade off this candle's high, right? It's just like over here, right? If I want to trade back into this range, the reversal will happen off this low, usually, right? Same thing here. This candle hit the low, reversal off that low. It's the same thing over and over. But if you go to the daily time frame, how can we frame this? It's the same thing, right? Where, yeah, this. Right? See how it's like a fractal model? It literally is. Isn't that cool? I forgot what example I was gonna show y'all. Look at if the weekly time frame, right? Expansion, consolidation, manipulation we're trading away from. And then, it's like external to internal. You could target that if you wanted to. And you just look to see how price reacts to that. I had an example here. I was gonna show you guys. Let me try to find it, and then I'll probably end the stream. Wherever the hell I was though. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, honestly. Probably won't be able to find that sucks. This is a really good example. Mm, totally forgot where it was, man. Unfortunately. But anyways, um, yeah, this is like something we can go over like in a whole another stream, right? Because this is a bit can be a bit complicated or just yeah, a bit advanced maybe. I really wanted to find that example for y'all, but I really did. It might be. Oh, it's right here. 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 Okay. Let me look at the monthly candle here, or the weekly candle or something. Okay, we're just trading to this high basically. So basically, within this week we hit this high, but this is like a good. I just saw it was like a good example of the Thursday counter profile. If you guys go through the course, you'll see this. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday expand into an objective. And then we're going to frame reversal off this high, right? Because it's an expansion candle. And then look how the candle formed. Open high first. And then you just have these clean opposing candles here. This is a good example I just saw when I show you all that. And then you look for SMT here as well. So let's look. Don't see any first glance there. Don't see there. Which asset was I on? Okay. Let's go here. I don't see any really. Uh, GP and ZD. Yeah, I don't really see any. That's fine, right? Just the way this kind of forms, like open high first, CSD. The daily high is formed off manipulation as well. So it's just like gold. Like I showed you guys, literally the same thing, basically. Right? Reverse off the high. Open high first, manipulation, TSD, candle supporting each other, right? So same thing on Forex here. But and if you look at just the weekly like This is how this formed. I'm gonna show you guys this as well, though. You can trade this right here. So just peep these lows, by the way. Right. So what do we do here? We hit this low on Monday, and then we will want to see if Monday's gonna be low of the week. We want to see Tuesday expand higher, right? That's what we ideally want to see. You can see the same thing over here. Um, it's basically a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday consolidation, Thursday manipulation, Friday continuation. So even coming in to Monday, you can already frame your trade to this low, right here. Right? You can frame that. So 2 days right here, you have narrative. But what I view this as really, I'll go to like the weekly time frame, is you can't really anticipate us reversing really because it doesn't make sense because we're so close to this high. Like this is our overall draw. So really, you have to keep that in mind, right? And like I said, Tuesday ideally expands higher, but what we do is we just create like failure swings right here. And like I said, we're retesting this opposing candle on the daily time frame and they're sweeping out Monday's high. So like you have narrative to possibly come to this low. But what's really nice here is what I want to take you guys to. It's not even this, but this is a cool model, right? Where Wednesday reversal, Thursday expansion. But it's not really what I was trying to show you guys. But I kind of just want to go over this PA real quick. I didn't even look really. It's not even clean, honestly. I'm not even gonna look for S&P because it's not even an example I want to show you guys. But yeah, it's just the daily model rate. But what I want to show you guys is this. Monday, we're expecting this high to be taken, right? So what Monday does is just consolidate. So what phase is this? Expansion at this high? What is this? Consolidation, right? So to trade higher, what's the ideal scenario? Manipulation, right? So if you play this forward, we don't have manipulation on this asset. Go to the correlated asset, which would be it can be multiple. This here. Yeah, so see this? This same thing, right? Expansion, consolidation, but here we are manipulating. So really, you can trade this right here. You have to view it like this, right? Because it's an SMT. And then go here. We're gonna be open low first. You manipulate at the low of the day. We have this opposing candle as well as this one. Right, so kind of clean here, I would say, into this high. Pretty clean there. But yeah, I'll probably end this here, guys. I do want to check this though. But yeah, we'll go over more like daily time frame stuff, right? You look here, right? How could we trade to these lows? How could we do that? Well, we need an expansion candle on the weekly time frame, right? What does this candle do, right? On Monday, it opens high first, right? Very clear manipulation of some sort. Like on the 4 hour, you're probably going to see a swing point here. Yeah, nice and clean, right? And let me get that chain of state delivery. And then on your way to this low, because it's failure swings, right? Failure swings, so high resistance, low resistance. Notice how the weekly candle, right? It's an open high, sweeps out this, low close. We're trading within an expansion weekly candle. Has that small opposing run. You can just look at the failure swings on the weekly time frame, but you can obviously in the daily. But on our way to here, what do we have? Expansion into these lows. What phase of price do we get? Consolidation, right? We have failure swings off the lows. And I just have this really. Now I have an eternal manipulation, right, around this opposing candle. And then we go lower, right? We look at the daily profile here. What does it do first? Open high first, manipulate, goes lower. Right? Very clean day right here. Um, so like you can frame a lot of stuff on the it's very important, the daily time frame, obviously. And at that point, you have this opposing candle on the daily time frame, right? So have all these things aligning for us, right? And now we want to see how we react to this low. What do we do? Be inside bar, pretty much, right? If this is going to be a manipulation, I want to see a stronger close with this swing point formation. And we're not likely to reverse on a Thursday, right? When Monday we have like this expansion here, like it's not likely to create a very large wick, right? On this weekly candle. That new phase is more than likely going to happen that the next week. So you don't really want to fade that. See if we continue here. So this should be our draw now. But what do we do? We form an S&T here. If I show you, look. So on the correlated asset, what is this basically? It's expansion into this high, right? What do we get? What's the phase of price we get? Consolidation, right? So if Friday manipulated this consolidation low, creating SMT, what do we expect? What do we expect Monday to do? Expand, right? And then this is our draw up here, right? So you have 2 days of just easy, very easy bias. When I go to the correlated asset here, this is our chain and state delivery, right? So now we're looking for highs, right? So manipulation. You have to view it like this. Like I said, you have to view it like this. This is manipulation. And notice what the weekly candle did, right? What do we have here on the weekly time frame? Previous week takes out all these lows, right? I want it from an open low, high close, right? So this here is supported by a weekly candle, that small opposite run, right? That kind of makes sense. And then what do we get here? Expansion into this high, consolidation, manipulation on Friday. So what can we expect Monday to do? Expand. This is our weekly objective right here. And now we're just continuing that consolidation. But here, like we're closing, there'll probably maybe be like another SMT right here, probably. Oh, it's a lot cleaner over here. A bit cleaner on this correlated asset, in my opinion. You have these set of opposing candles. And then, we sweep into that. So it's basically Monday, Tuesday consolidation. Wednesday puts in this low. And then you can expect the correlated assets to trade into these highs, right? Now we're forming an SMT here, though. A little sus, right? At this point. So you're basically combining a closure, an SMT. When I look off the lows, kind of sus, right? You have bearish swings down here. But what time is it, bro? 12:10. Okay, bro, I gotta probably go. I'm not gonna lie. So with this monthly low, so this week, we're open low higher 60.8% this week. Yeah, so like I already went over, scenarios for that. Could rewatch it, but yeah. Run what back? Yeah, intra-candle CST is goated, bro. You are late, buddy. Where do I live? I live in Texas. Texas. But yeah, we're over an hour here, so probably wrap it up. My next streams will be how we use the 4-hour candles and probably uh, this higher time frame stuff, because I think this will help you guys. Yeah, no problem. But do y'all think this helps y'all? Like, combining it helps me a lot. Just using the monthly and stuff like that, it really helps me out. And I have that. If you guys want to know my model with how I view these reversals and stuff, my last stream, I believe I went over it. It's a complete mechanical approach, but when you start to incorporate multiple time frames and stuff, it gets a little complicated. So we're gonna have to do some streams over that. But yeah, pretty good stream. We went over like some fractal model stuff, some expansion model stuff. And we did this, but yeah, guys. I'll catch y'all later. So those will be my next few streams. Same time as always, Saturday. Uh, for me, it's like 11 o'clock. For like, if you think about like New York time, it's like 12 o'clock. But you can just view this in the events So it's gonna do the time conversion for you. So yeah, I'll catch you later. Y'all have a good one.